Welcome to the deep dive. Today, today we're going to be looking at how to glow up from the inside out. So not just like a surface level makeover, but like real personal growth.
Mhm.
We are going to be looking at Simone Squared's YouTube video, 21 Ways to Actually Glow You Pee in 2021. Everything self-growth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen that one around. It's a really catchy title. I mean,
It is.
and from what you've told me, it seems like Simone is going like way beyond just the usual treat yourself type of advice.
Totally.
And she even launched like a whole new channel dedicated to self-improvement.
She did.
Sounds like she's really committed to this topic.
Yeah, like she's saying, look, this stuff is important enough to have its own space. I think one thing that really struck me was how she separates like the external glow up trends from real inner growth.
Hmm.
Like she's not knocking those external changes, but she's really emphasizing that, real transformation comes from within,
Right.
which honestly, I think that's what a lot of us are looking for when we think about glowing up, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the difference between just a temporary fix and, like a lasting change.
Yeah.
And it goes right along with that whole idea that, personal growth is a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. So let's jump into some of her tips. She starts with this idea of daily growth, which is all about, those small but consistent actions that can really add up over time.
Yeah.
She talks about this thing called the 1% rule. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
So imagine improving yourself just 1% every single day. Like it sounds kind of small, but over time, that consistent effort can lead to incredible results, like this snowball effect.
It's that principle of compounding gains.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in finance learning, like practically any area where, consistent effort gets you results.
Right.
It's really cool how she ties it back into this glow up idea.
And then she backs it up with really practical advice like habit tracking,
Oh, yeah.
which, let's be honest, is a total game changer when it comes to consistency. Like actually seeing those small wins every day can be so motivating, especially if you're someone who gets overwhelmed by trying to change everything at once.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you're creating a system that supports your goals,
Right.
and habit tracking gives you that feedback loop to keep you on track.
Mm.
Now, her take on social media is interesting. She's advocating for a 3-hour daily limit,
Wow.
which might sound kind of radical,
It does.
but when you think about how much time we all spend just scrolling endlessly.
Oh, so much time. It's like,
Whoa.
yeah, and it makes you realize how much mental energy we're giving to the digital world.
Right.
It's not even just the time. It's like the impact it has on our focus, our sleep,
Yeah.
our well-being.
Totally. And then she goes even deeper into mental and emotional wellness.
Okay.
This is where I was like, okay, Simone is getting serious now.
Yeah.
She talks about therapy and how valuable it can be, but she also acknowledges that it's not accessible for everyone. And so she suggests exploring alternatives like university counseling services or maybe looking for some low-cost options.
Yeah, it's so important to acknowledge that not everyone has the same resources.
Right.
And to offer some, more realistic solutions.
But here's where it gets really interesting. She dives into this whole concept of shadow work. Have you heard of this?
I have, yeah. It's like a psychology thing.
It is.
It's about like confronting those parts of ourselves that we tend to hide.
Yes.
Like our fears and insecurities,
Yeah.
negative patterns.
And she doesn't sugarcoat it at all.
Yeah.
She's like straight up neglecting shadow work can ruin your life.
Wow.
Like that's a bold
It
statement.
is a bold statement, but when you think about it, it makes sense. If we're not aware of our own shadow self,
Mm-hmm.
all that unresolved stuff can really come out in unhealthy ways.
Yeah.
Like self-sabotage or, problems in our relationships.
It's like those patterns that we keep falling into even when we know they're not good for us. So shadow work is about uncovering the root of those patterns so we can finally break free.
It's understanding why we react the way we do,
Yeah.
especially when we're, triggered or we act in ways we regret later.
And then she goes into this whole investing in yourself thing,
Oh.
which isn't just about like buying the latest gadgets or clothes or whatever.
Right.
She's talking about nourishing your body with good food, taking care of your skin and hair.
Oh, yeah, that holistic approach.
Yeah.
It's recognizing that well-being isn't just one thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's physical, mental, emotional.
Exactly. Investing in yourself is about making those choices that support your overall well-being.
Right.
And this is where the sponsor for the video comes in.
Okay.
It's a customizable hair care brand,
Makes sense.
which makes sense given her focus on investing in quality self-care.
Yeah, for sure.
But moving on, the next section is all about self-discovery and reflection.
Okay.
And this is where she gets real about ditching those personality quizzes.
Interesting. What's her take on those?
So she believes that they can be limiting.
Oh.
You might get a label, but does that really reflect who you are at your core?
Right.
So she encourages like true introspection.
Yeah.
Going beyond those surface level assessments and really digging deep to understand your values and your motivations and desires.
So like really developing that strong sense of self-awareness.
Yes.
That's the foundation for all this.
Yeah.
You know?
And she emphasizes not letting others define you.
Mm.
She shares the story about how she used to be super influenced by other people's opinions.
Oh, wow.
And it led to a lot of unhappiness for her.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, and she had to like disconnect from social media and reconnect with herself to really break free.
It's a common struggle though, right?
It is.
Especially nowadays. We're constantly bombarded with messages about who we should be.
It's so true.
It takes a lot of effort to tune out that noise and just be yourself.
And that leads into her next big point, journaling.
Oh?
She is a huge advocate for journaling.
Oh, yeah.
And get this, she has 3 different journals.
3? Wow. Okay, I'm interested. Now I got to know.
I know, right? So she has one for just general journaling.
Right.
Like capturing her thoughts and feelings throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
She has another one that's specifically for manifestation.
Okay.
Which is a whole other deep dive we could do.
Yeah.
And then she has a bullet journal for planning and organization.
So it's like a whole system.
It is.
Processing everything.
Yeah, and she actually talks about how not journaling for a while negatively impacted her mental state.
Really?
Yeah, she felt overwhelmed and like unable to process everything.
Wow.
So, journaling can be a powerful tool for just managing our mental and emotional landscape.
It's that safe space you were talking about.
It is.
To just explore your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Yes. Are you ready for the next section?
I am. Hit me.
It's called Pushing Boundaries and Finding Purpose. And it's all about stepping outside of your comfort zone and really discovering what lights you up. So she starts by challenging viewers to do something positive and different every single day. Like something that pushes their boundaries.
I love that.
Right.
It's such a simple but effective way to grow.
Yeah.
Even small things can build your confidence.
And, she's speaking from experience.
Yeah.
She talks about her own fear of stagnation and how important it is to constantly be evolving and trying new things.
Yeah, that fear can be a good motivator, though.
It can.
It pushes you to explore your potential.
Totally. And then she gets into finding hobbies, but with a twist.
Ooh, a twist.
She suggests having one hobby that stimulates you, like, mentally or creatively.
Okay.
And then another hobby that brings you calm and peace.
That's interesting. I like that.
It's about finding that balance between pushing yourself and giving yourself space to recharge.
That's brilliant.
It's like having a toolbox for your well-being, right?
Yeah, totally.
So for stimulation, she suggests things like hitting the gym or maybe painting. For calming hobbies, she doesn't give specific examples, but I imagine things like meditation or reading or spending time in nature would fit.
Oh, for sure.
But there's one more piece to this section.
Oh, there is.
Reading. Even for people who don't love to read,
Okay.
she stresses how important it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, if traditional reading isn't your thing, she even suggests educational YouTube videos as an alternative.
Yeah.
It's all about, expanding your knowledge and your perspective.
Right. Constantly learning.
Which we both value.
Yes, absolutely. Lifelong learning is essential.
Okay, so we're making good progress here.
Yeah.
We're on to the next section, healthy habits and lifestyle.
Okay, good. I love the practical stuff.
This is where she gets super practical about making those positive changes stick.
Awesome. What did she say?
Her big thing is gradual change.
Okay.
Like starting small and building momentum instead of trying to overhaul your entire life overnight.
Right.
Because that can feel super overwhelming.
Well, it's sustainable.
Exactly. She uses this great analogy. She's like, take the stairs instead of the lift or walk instead of driving.
I like that.
It's about those little swaps that over time create this ripple effect.
It changes your mindset, too.
It does.
When it's not such a big deal.
Totally.
Yeah, it just becomes more natural.
But buckle up because this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Sleep.
Sleep. That doesn't usually come up in glow-up routines.
I know, right? But she's super passionate about sleep. She even mentions that she wrote her college research paper on sleep.
Wow, she must be serious.
Oh, she is. And she drops some truth bombs here.
Okay.
So first, she recommends a very specific sleep schedule. 10 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Okay, so 8 hours.
9 hours.
9 hours.
Yeah.
But here's the shocker.
What's that?
Sleeping longer isn't necessarily better.
What? Really?
I know, right?
That goes against everything I thought I knew.
I know, it's crazy. But she says that 8 to 9 hours is the sweet spot.
And anything more than that can actually make you feel groggy and sluggish.
You know what? That makes sense, though.
It does.
Because sometimes I sleep in late and I wake up feeling worse.
Exactly.
Huh. Interesting.
But she's not just talking about the physical benefits of sleep.
Right.
She also talks about, improved mood focus, overall well-being. It's like sleep is the foundation.
It is the foundation for everything else.
Yes.
If you're sleep deprived, how are you going to, have the energy to do all this other stuff?
Exactly. You can't.
Yeah.
So we're almost to the end of her tips, but there's still some good stuff left.
Okay.
This next section is all about social connections.
Ooh. Okay.
And it goes beyond just like making new friends.
I'm listening.
She talks about showing up for your friends, being a good listener, offering support, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people who encourage your growth. That's something we can all relate to.
Oh, for sure. The energy of the people around you.
It's huge.
Get everything.
It can either lift you up or drag you down.
Seriously.
And then she brings up this 5 people rule.
Oh, what's that?
Have you heard of this? It says that you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Wow.
It's a powerful reminder to be mindful of who you're letting into your inner circle.
That's true, because they can shape your,
everything.
Values, beliefs, everything.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to think about that one.
Right.
Yeah.
And she doesn't just talk about nurturing those existing friendships.
Oh.
She also gives tips for making new ones.
Like what?
Putting yourself out there.
Okay.
Trying new activities. Not being afraid of rejection.
Yeah.
It's all about stepping outside of that comfort zone.
That's where the magic happens.
Yes. Okay. Ready for the final tip.
I'm ready. Hit me with it.
It's all about the long game.
The long game. Okay.
She reminds us that, self-growth isn't a quick fix. It's not a destination.
Yeah.
It's this ongoing journey.
It is.
That requires consistent effort.
Yeah.
And a willingness to embrace the ups and downs.
That's about the process.
It is.
Yeah.
And she shares the story about moving to a new city at 18. And she was expecting that to magically transform her life.
Like a fresh start.
Yeah. But she realized that real growth comes from within.
It does.
Not from external circumstances.
Oh, that's so true.
Right. And she ends the video with this really thought-provoking quote.
Oh, I love a good quote.
It's actually a medical quote.
Really? Okay.
She says, "It matters not what you've done, but what you do with what you've done for others."
Wow. That's beautiful.
It is right.
And powerful.
It's like saying our past doesn't define us. It's what we choose to do with those experiences,
Right.
how we choose to move forward. That's what truly matters.
It's a message of hope.
It is.
Yeah.
And so with that, we have completed our whirlwind tour of Simone Squared's 21 tips.
We did it.
For glowing up from the inside out.
That was a lot.
It was a lot, but it's packed with so much practical advice and insights.
Yeah, and I think anyone can benefit from it.
I agree. It's clear that Simone is so passionate about empowering others.
Yeah.
To embrace their potential and create a more fulfilling life.
Her insights really align with,
Yeah.
a lot of what we talk about in experts' field.
They do.
Like the importance of self-awareness.
Yeah.
And those small, consistent actions.
Yeah.
And the fact that our well-being is all connected.
Yeah.
It
all comes back to that.
Mind, body, spirit.
Yeah. It's amazing how these themes really transcend specific fields and disciplines.
They do.
Whether we're talking about psychology or personal development or even business,
Yeah.
those core principles of growth and transformation.
They're always there.
They are.
It shows that we're all in this together.
We are. And that's what makes these deep dives so rewarding.
Totally.
It's not just about absorbing information.
Yeah.
It's about connecting and reflecting and discovering new ways to apply these insights to our own lives.
Yeah. Taking those little nuggets of wisdom and turning them into something real.
Exactly. But before we get too deep into our own reflections, we've got more to unpack.
Okay, bring it on.
Let's shift gears and talk about what all of this means for you.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get personal.
Okay, so let's get personal for a minute.
Okay, let's do it, because that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
Right? We can take all this amazing stuff that Simone's talking about
Right.
and figure out how it can actually make a difference in our own lives.
Exactly. We've gone over a lot of different concepts, from the 1% rule to shadow work.
Yeah.
To finding those hobbies that both stimulate and calm you. What really stood out to you? What are you curious about?
I've got to say, that whole shadow work thing really hit home for me.
Yeah.
It's not something I'd really thought about that deeply before.
Yeah.
But the way Simone presented it, as something that can actually ruin your life if you ignore it.
Yeah.
That really got my attention.
It's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And it really, connects to a lot of what we know about psychology. Try to avoid or suppress, those parts of ourselves.
But they don't just go away.
They come out in other ways, right?
They do.
Like all those self-sabotaging behaviors or those patterns in our relationships that we just can't seem to break.
Exactly. Shadow work is about, shining a light on those hidden parts.
Yeah.
Understanding where they come from. And ultimately, like, integrating them into a more authentic self.
It's like those moments, when you react to something in a way that surprises even you, and you're like, where did that come from?
Totally.
Shadow work is about exploring those reactions.
Yeah.
And figuring out, like, what beliefs or experiences are driving them.
Yeah. And it can be hard.
Oh, for sure.
But it's about self-compassion.
Yeah.
Understanding that we all have those shadow sides.
Yeah.
And by facing them, we can actually unlock a lot of potential for growth.
I'm definitely adding shadow work to my to-do list.
Good for you.
And speaking of things that resonated, Simone's emphasis on journaling also really stood out to me.
Yeah.
I've always kind of dabbled in journaling.
Yeah.
But, hearing her talk about having 3 different journals.
Right. The 3 journals.
It inspired me to get more intentional about it.
It's a great example of how, these deep dives can give you those aha moments.
Yeah.
Like Simone's approach to journaling shows how we can personalize it.
Right.
To fit our own needs.
Exactly. She's got one for reflections, one for manifestation, and one for planning and organization. It's a whole system.
It is a system.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that journaling isn't one size fits all.
Yeah.
We can experiment with different format styles.
Totally.
And find what works for us.
And even if you're not into the whole multiple journals thing,
right.
The key is consistency.
Yes.
Even a few minutes each day to write down your thoughts and feelings can make a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about creating that space for reflection, processing, connecting with yourself.
So thinking about your own goals and aspirations, where do you see the potential for applying these insights? What's standing out to you as particularly relevant?
I'm really drawn to that concept of finding hobbies that both stimulate and calm. I tend to get really caught up in the busyness of life.
Yeah.
And I usually go for activities that are mentally stimulating.
Which is great, but it sounds like you're recognizing the need for more balance.
I am. I need to prioritize those activities that help me unwind.
It's like creating a rhythm for your well-being.
Exactly.
Right. A balance between pushing yourself and giving yourself space to recharge.
Yes. And it ties back into that self-care idea that Simone talked about. It's not just about pampering yourself. It's about those choices that support your overall well-being.
And that looks different for everyone.
It does.
Right. What brings you peace and joy might not resonate with someone else, and vice versa.
Exactly.
It's about finding what works for you.
Yeah.
And making those activities a priority.
For sure.
And another thing that really stood out to me was that quote Simone shared at the end of her video.
Oh, yeah. The quote. I love that one.
It matters not what you've done, but what you do with what you've done for others.
Yeah. It's so powerful.
It really is. It's like saying that our past doesn't define us. It's what we choose to do with those experiences.
Right.
How we choose to move forward.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
It's all about finding meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
Even when things are tough.
Totally. And it ties into this whole idea of glowing up from the inside out, right?
It does.
It's not just about personal transformation. It's about radiating that positive energy outward and inspiring others to do the same.
It's like a beautiful cycle of growth and inspiration.
It is.
As we invest in ourselves, we create a ripple effect.
We do.
That goes beyond us.
So I'm curious, what are some specific actions you're thinking about taking based on these insights? What are you excited to implement?
I'm definitely going to get back into journaling.
Awesome.
I've been off and on with it.
Yeah.
But hearing Simone talk about it, how she uses it for self-discovery and growth, I'm inspired to make it a regular habit.
That's great. And maybe you could even experiment with different types of journaling.
Yeah, maybe I will.
Like Simone does. See what works for you.
Right,
Yeah. And I'm also going to explore some new hobbies, specifically ones that focus on relaxation and mindfulness.
Okay.
Because I'm very goal-oriented and driven.
Yeah.
And I really need to create more space for those activities that bring me peace.
That's so important.
It is. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to nurture our inner peace.
So true.
So what kind of things are you thinking about trying?
Well, I've always been curious about meditation, but I've never really stuck with it. So maybe this time I'll try a guided meditation app.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Or maybe join a group,
Yeah, for support.
for support.
Yeah.
Those are great ideas.
And you know what? I used to love photography,
Ah,
but I haven't picked up a camera in years.
wow.
So maybe I'll dust off my old camera and start taking some pictures again. I love that. It's amazing how those passions can kind of lay dormant for a while
You do.
and then come back when the time is right.
Yeah.
And, maybe you can even combine your photography with your newfound interest in mindfulness,
Oh.
Focus on capturing moments of beauty in nature or documenting your meditative journeys through photography.
I love that idea. That's beautiful.
It's about finding those intersections where our passions and interests can blend,
Yeah.
and create something really unique and fulfilling.
It is. And that's what personal growth is all about, right?
It is.
It's not about checking things off a list.
No.
It's about exploring and discovering and becoming more ourselves.
Exactly. And embracing the journey with all its ups and downs.
Yes, the ups and downs are part of it.
They are. And celebrating the small wins along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Every step we take towards becoming a better version of ourselves is a victory.
it is. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to encourage you to reflect on what's resonated with you the most and consider what small steps you can take today to move closer to your goals.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone.
You don't.
We can learn from each other,
Yeah.
support each other. We're all in this together.
Beautifully said. And speaking of support, in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore how connecting with others can actually amplify our personal growth journey
Okay.
and how irradiating our own inner light can inspire others to shine brighter as well. All right, so we've explored all of Simone's tips,
We have.
and we've even taken some time to think about how we can apply them to our own lives.
We did.
But there's one more thing I want to touch on. Connection.
Connection. Yeah.
It's something Simone talks about in her video,
Yeah.
and it's something that's been kind of woven throughout our conversation today.
It has. It keeps coming up.
It does, and for good reason. Human beings are social creatures.
We are.
We need connection.
We thrive on it.
And when we think about this whole glowing up from the inside out thing, it's not just about individual transformation.
Right.
It's also about how that growth ripples outward
Yeah.
and impacts the people around us.
It's like that quote Simone shared.
Yeah.
It matters not what you've done, but what you do with what you've done for others.
Exactly.
It's like when we invest in ourselves, we become better at showing up for others.
Yes. And not just the people we already know.
Right.
Think about the new connections that we can make when we're pursuing our passions and putting ourselves out there.
Like we expand our circle.
We do.
And as we grow, we attract like-minded people.
Totally. And that brings us back to this idea of glowing up not just for ourselves, but for the collective good.
Yeah, I like that.
When we shine our light brightly, we give other people permission to do the same.
It's contagious.
It is. It's this beautiful cycle of growth and inspiration. So as you continue on your personal growth journey, I want to leave you with this thought. How can you use your unique gifts and experiences to make a positive impact on the world?
It's a good question to think about.
It is. And it doesn't have to be some grand gesture.
Right.
It can be through your work, your relationships, or even just your everyday interactions.
Well, little things add up.
They do.
Yeah.
And remember, glowing up isn't about being perfect.
Oh, no, not at all.
It's about embracing the journey
Yeah,
with
yeah.
all its ups and downs
All of it.
and using those experiences to become the best version of yourself.
Exactly. It's about
Yeah.
constantly learning,
Yes.
growing,
Yeah.
connecting.
And shining your light so brightly that others can find their way too.
I love that.
Yeah.
So until next time,
Yes.
keep learning
Keep growing.
and keep shining.
This is the Deep Dive signing off.